Hello and welcome. This is the assembly video for the Adjustable Steampipe Shelving Unit. We've unboxed everything and we just kind of laid it out here. These are all the parts and the hardware that comes with it. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to assemble and put the flanges on the shelving units themselves. We've got some screws and for this I'm just going to pull in a table. It's a little bit repetitive, so get yourself a chair, settle in for the long haul. The very first thing is you're going to need a screwdriver. Any old screwdriver would do. Don't use a power drill on these. The metal on metal, you do not want to snap them. There's two sides. There's a finished side, and then there's the unfinished side, or the back. So we're going to be assembling these on the back. All of the holes are pre-drilled, so it should go on pretty easy. If you take a look at it, you'll see that each one of the flanges has a number 1 on it. And that number 1, you're going to want to be facing towards the front of the shelving unit, which is the part that has the little metal brackets on it. So those are going to line up on the 4 holes. Each one of these shelves is going to get 2. And we can go into the hardware bag and pull out all of the 3/4 inch screws. And we're also going to need the Allen key. So just set them aside. And then if you take a look at the front of the flange, you will see there's a little set screw. And so this Allen key is going to fit into that set screw. And you want to make sure that all the set screws are pulled out so that the pipes can go through and there's no scratching or resistance. So these very first two, the ones line up facing the front, which is the side with the bracket. And then we're just going to screw them in. And you're going to do each one. They should fit right into the pre-drilled holes, and a couple of twists will just hold these on and make it very solid to the frame of the shelving unit itself. And again, I mentioned don't use a drill on this just because you don't want to snap these screws. That will cause a lot of problems later on. All right. And so we've got a total of 6 shelves, and each shelf is going to get 2 of the 1-inch flanges. So in order to get this done, I'm just going to put it on fast forward here, and then when you complete it, we can just go and start on the next part of this installation video. All right, now that we've got all 6 of the shelves and we've got the flanges on, we're going to move on to the next part. So just going to readjust here for a moment and get ready to build the frame. Okay, so we've got the 6 shelves, and now we're going to build the frame. And that's what these two 48-inch pipes are. If you take a quick look at it, you'll see that they are notched every 4 inches, and this is going to be the same on both of the pipes. This is what we can use to line up each one of the shelves. So we're going to create the frame for this and get the very first one on. We had 2 sets of flanges, and for this, we're going to use the 3/4 inch flange. And they're going to screw into the bottom of each one of the pipes. Once you screw it in, it should stand up on its own. You're going to want to keep those notches that are in the pipe facing forward. All right, so they're going to be spaced about 36 inches apart, and that's where the hole sets are on the shelving units themselves. So making sure that we have the two brackets facing forward, and of course the flange on the bottom, we're now going to put the first shelf on. This one takes, well, just a little bit of work to get it on, but once this one's on, then it spaces out the remaining shelves. So you're just going to slide this all the way down to the bottom, and as it slides down, it's going to space the two pipes out about 36 inches. All right, and then we're going to use the Allen key again, which fit in the set screw, and we're going to tighten that set screw now. Just adjust the pipes so that those notches are facing forward, and you can use the set screw to seat inside the notch if you want, or just using the notches to get a rough level height between the two shelves themselves. It's not necessary for them to line up in the holes, but as I said, if you count them, this was just a very easy way to provide a way to level the shelves to the two pipes. Once they're there, you're just going to use the Allen key, and you're going to tighten the set screw in. That's going to move in a clockwise motion so that it presses up against the steel pipe. And when it does, you will feel the shelf stiffen, and you won't be able to move it up or down anymore. Each shelf has two set screws, so you want to do the one on the right and then the one on the left, again doing the best you can to line it up. Once the entire shelf is together, you will be able to make final adjustments on the screws, just to adjust them if you've got one shelf that needs to be higher than the other, or vice versa if you have shelves that need to be shorter. So this is just meant to be adjustable and really fit what you plan on putting on it, as opposed to just set shelves that you can't adjust. This is going to be the same for all 6 of the shelving frames. So again, we're just going to put it in fast forward to get through this, and then once you have your frames set, just forward on to the next part of this video. All right. Now that we've got that, we're going to move on to the next section. These shelves can be adjusted once they're in place, but what we want to do is we want to get it up against the wall, because that's what stabilizes this unit. So these are going to be the remaining pieces of hardware that you do have. There's going to be a 6-inch pipe with a 90-degree angle, and you're just going to screw those together. There's no left or right to it. And then you're going to put a flange on it. So each piece is going to have a 6-inch pipe, a 90-degree angle, and then a 3/4 flange. And this is going to go at the top of each one of the pipes that we do have, and you're going to put it on hand tight, and then just put it 90 degrees till it's facing the wall. It's the same process for the left and right one. These you don't need to put a tool on. It's just a matter of it being hand tight, and then once we anchor it to the wall, this becomes a solid piece, and you don't have to worry about it getting too heavy or falling forward. All right, and then 90 degrees facing the back of the wall. that's what it's going to look like as it goes against the wall, but I do want to take you through how to anchor this in. I've provided a total of 8 anchors in here. There are plastic anchors, and then there's a silver screw, and this is for each one of the holes. Depending upon what you do, this is how you're going to anchor it to the wall. For now, since I'm not going to anchor it to this wall, I've just built a very simple piece of sheetrock and board, just to kind of mimic what your wall could be, just to take you through the process of how I would go about anchoring this in. So you want to line it up as close as you can to the studs. It's probably not going to fit precisely on the studs. And then with a screwdriver, you're going to take and just mark your holes from inside the flanges themselves. You're going to do this on each side. You can use a pencil, you can use a Sharpie. I'm just using a screwdriver because we are going to drill out the holes, so it doesn't really matter if they get marked up. But you should definitely, before you go ahead and do that, make sure that where you put the shelf is where it's going to stay. Now that we have the holes marked, you can see them here, and we're going to take and we're going to drill them out. For this part, I am going to use 2 drills. One's going to be a drill and one's going to be a nut driver. And so nut driver is going to be a Phillips head, and the drill I'm using, it just basically has a quick bore tip to it. Hopefully this is something that you do have. You only need to go through on the sheetrock side if there is no stud there. Where there is a stud, I'm just enlarging the hole enough so that it'll be visible once I put the flanges back on. Now, the 2 sides that are not going in the stud that you push right through, you're going to use the wall anchors in. It only needs to go where there is no stud and no support behind them, and where there is a stud, you're not going to need those at all. Just making sure the holes are big enough in order to fit the studs in. And then the studs should go in so that they're snug and they're not turning on their own. So if you are getting a drill bit for this, you want to make sure that the drill bit is slightly smaller than the wall anchor itself. That way it can kind of push in. And you can also use a bit of a hammer to tap these in if you are having too much resistance. Now that we've got those holes and they've lined up, we're going to take the silver screws that were inside the bag with the wall anchors, and you can use a screwdriver to put them in, but I'm going to use my impact driver I have here, and I'm just going to put them in, and if it's just plain sheetrock, those wall anchors will expand out and they will lock it in place. Where you have a stud, you don't need the wall anchor. You can just screw directly into the stud itself. It's not necessary to screw these directly into a stud. If there's a stud there, these screws should be long enough to screw into it. But since this is the floor mounted shelving unit, it's actually, the weight is supported by the floor itself, and all we're doing right now is we're stopping the piece from tipping forward. So if it is weighted down, you don't have to worry about it becoming unbalanced and then, as I said, tipping forward. I always just put 2 of the screws in each side of the flange before, just to make sure that everything lines up properly, and then I'll go back and I'll put the other 2 screws in so that there's going to be a total of 4 screws. And that becomes one solid piece. It's supported by the wall, not going to tip forward. These shelves can get adjusted. Just grab the Allen key in order to do that, and set your heights to whichever way works best for you. This is the time to do it. The piece is in place and solid, and that's all there is to assembling the shelf. I hope you like it. Thank you for your purchase, and enjoy.